Welcome. Thank you for tuning in again to the 2d同人音楽 podcast. It's Two Dopes. My name is Veto.
I'm DJ.
And we're going to talk about an album.
It's true.
It's like 10 years old.
Released December 30th, 2009. I was the one that suggested we review this one. It is called Resurrection Ballad by Pizuya Cell and MyonMyon.
Is it MyonMyon?
MyonMyon.
Pizuya no Dokubo. It's weird. Like, he writes it out in both, like Pizuya Cell in English and also in Japanese. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's cool, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just rolling with what it says on the cover.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I guess we'll talk about it. You already said this album is like just turned 10 years old a few months ago, which is crazy to think about. That was Comic Market 77.
77, you're right.
10 years ago. That's 20 Comic-Cets ago. Jesus Christ. 20 Comic-Cets. Think of all the Doujin Ongaku and all the Doujinshi and all the events-only goods that no one will remember,
and all the minor releases, by lesser known doujin circles that have been lost to time because they're not archived.
Yeah, they're lost to the void. This sucks.
And their websites.
But that's why doujinshi and like Doujin Ongaku is so cool. It's like it's one and done.
Yeah,
that's like really punk rock, which is like what's really cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just sharing my works with the world without a care.
Hell yeah.
I have more thoughts on it than that, but I'm just making this up as I go. I didn't write anything about it, so I was just like making it up. But that's how I feel about it in general. Like it really is like this whole punk, like completely punk thing, and not like in a sense of like music itself, but just like the spirit of like anti-establishment, anti-capitalism. Although you can do doujin katsudo for profit, for fun and for profit. I guess let's talk about it. This is a full rearrangement of Pizuya Myon's first collaboration album from like the year prior, Grimoire of Alice.
Number 4. Yeah, Grimoire of Alice.
Wait, what'd you just say about number 4?
It was released a year prior at Koromu 4.
Oh, Koromu 4, yeah. Koromu. That lesser Touhou event.
The not Rei Taisai.
Yeah, not Rei Taisai. It's still cool. There's lots of cool releases that come out of Koromu.
Yeah, absolutely.
I say it wrong all the time. It's the one that starts with the K as opposed to the one that starts with the R. So it's completely re-recorded and newly arranged with vocals. Just looking at all the dates and stuff, apparently it was their final collaboration, Pizuya and Myon, which is, I guess we'll get to it, but that's kind of bittersweet, I guess.
Yeah, I personally speaking, I think, we'll get to it later on, but I think like all of their releases, the ones that have been released under Pizuya Cell and MyonMyon, I've enjoyed all of them, and it's kind of odd that they only do these 5 releases over the course of
2 years.
A year really, and then that's it.
So all the arrangements are credited to the circle entities, Pizuya Cell and MyonMyon. So I just wrote briefly about all of the people who worked on this record.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pizuya is, maybe is a man who needs a little introduction at this point, but he's a legend, the living legend of Touhou Doujin Ongaku.
Yeah, he's really out here.
Over 10 years of participation, and popular parts, like everyone. I feel like the name Pizuya Cell is more recognized than maybe his even his music himself, or at least it's that way with me. It's like I know who Pizuya Cell is, even if I'm only familiar with maybe 2-3 of his albums. Yeah,
and he's got such a vast discography of releases under the Pizuya Cell label.
Yeah, and there's a variety of stuff he likes to do too. He himself is known for his metal arrangements, but he also has that fondness for the electronic elements and stuff, especially I guess more recent, like with the last 5 years or so, just like adding, when there was the whole dubstep curse back in 2013, but
yeah,
that kind of thing. So he's credited for all the guitars on this album. on the website, I guess, that he thought that as usual, I thought when it was recording this that my right arm would die from, and because there's a lot
That's
of
fair.
shredding. There's a
That's
lot of
fair.
shredding on the record. So
Yeah, definitely.
actually, in general, this album itself is an Alice only. So the character Alice Margaret Alice only full vocal metalcore arrangement album, and that it's more impressive and extreme than last time. I'm assuming they're comparing to not just Grimoire of Alice, but I guess their last collab album, maybe both. I'm not quite sure. It's just written like that on the website.
On the Grimoire of Alice website, it says, oh Christ, how do you pronounce
It's
it?
pretty extreme, right? I think it said something like that.
Haking BPM 220 over. So like the average BPM of the album is over 220 BPM, and it makes sense when you think about how he said his right arm
would die. Yeah. Well, maybe if you
fast riffs.
Maybe if you alt picked Pizuya instead of just Metallica, just down picking everything.
Oh man, my right arm's hurting just thinking about it.
So next I have Myon, an arranger who was active for about 4 years, from 2007 to 2011, specifically collaborating with Pizuya as Pizuya Cell MyonMyon from 2008 to 2009 before returning to her solo work. So she was just within those 4 years, and then within the 2 in the center, she was working with Pizuya. There's a picture of her on VGMDB, and I didn't assume that she was a man, but I didn't assume that she was a woman either. It was just like, this is the entity. It's Myon,
Yeah, I getcha.
But there's a picture of her on VGMDB. I mean, I assume that's her. It's a picture attributed to her. So, and her individual, like her solo, I guess, arrangements are also metal. Seems more like she was into the gothic and speed metal versus Pizuya, who is more into, I guess, classic metal. If that, maybe I'm misinformed there, but like that's what it seemed like to me, just listening to a bit of her solo arrangements.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
And just like Pizuya, she would start with instrumental stuff, and then her later albums she added vocals, like guest vocalists. I feel like that's common in doujinshi when people are just starting out and they either have to sing themselves or they just release instrumental, and then later on they're like, once they've met people, they can collaborate. You can collaborate and listen, So
jeez. Yeah, speaking of which, so in Grimoire of Alice, what would later become the vocals sung by Yamagen, who we'll get to, or Yamagen?
Yamagen?
I don't know, dude.
I think it's Yamagen, but I'm not sure, actually.
You're probably right. The melodies that would become, the vocal melodies were done by synthesizers.
I did notice that. I actually listened to Grimoire of Alice once, just once before, well, not before, but after writing all my notes for Resurrection Ballad. I went back just to be like, okay, how much did they actually change? And spoiler alert,
it's a fair bit.
It's a fair bit. You can hear the original song, like what they would become, but it basically feels like Grimoire of Alice actually is a demo for Resurrection Ballad.
Yeah, that's actually a good way of putting it.
I don't know if they considered it that at the time, and then later like, no, let's go back and redo Grimoire of Alice. But in retrospect, it does feel like a demo version compared to this Resurrection Ballad. Anyway, just to get back to Myon real quick, I just said, she played all the bass parts on the album, and she's credited with the design work, I guess, for the website and the album design itself. But her website, like any information leading to her, it's not even snapshotted on Internet Archive, so there's no record for her works anymore besides, I guess, user-made databases like VGMDB and various Touhou wikis. Like you can hit up the Chinese one. I guess the English Touhou wiki. Does Japan have a Touhou wiki, or do they just leave it to the Chinese?
That's a great question that I've never
because the Chinese
really
wiki is really good.
Oh man, they have us.
They have us on there, so it's good. That sounds so conceited, but what I mean by that is that we're such losers that it's surprising that we are on any wiki.
Mm-hmm.
See, we're not on the English wiki, so except as footnotes on the WEII. So, but that's all I have for, like, that's kind of not sad, I guess, but I don't know what word I'd use to describe it. Just it's interesting to me that Myon basically doesn't exist anymore, you know? Like her websites are gone. They're just
Yeah.
gone. They're not on Internet Archive.
Wait, hang on. I'm gonna send you a link. I'm looking at it right now. There is an entry in the archive for January 29, 2013.
Mm.
It's a blank page. All it says is like in English, 6 feet
6
under
feet under.
and trash.
Trash.mp3. Can I click?
And
Is it gonna?
no.
Did they archive the MP3? That'd be dope.
No, unfortunately.
Damn.
But if you look at the prior snapshot, which is way back in 2011, there we
Yeah.
have some semblance of, like
Oh
this is
wow. Well,
what
I mean,
her
2011 was her last album release. There it is, Innocent Chain. Wow. I guess I was looking for more specifically a specific web page, like a release page or something, but
Oh,
I didn't
yeah,
actually
for
check
sure.
the homepage. So wow, there it is.
Yeah, and then, as is the case with, like really any creative endeavor that fizzles out, the domain expires and it's lost to the sands of time forever.
Yeah.
If not for
That's I don't know what the word. It's not nostalgia. It's not melancholy. Maybe it is melancholy, but like what I don't know how to describe what I feel when I think about things like this, things that are just gone, you know?
yeah,
But people change, and they, you can't, well, some people can, but some people can't do the same thing over and over, or it gets tiring, or they just can't or don't want to devote the time to something anymore.
yeah. And if you're not particularly like interested in preserving, like you can just let your domain expire if you don't really want to
Yeah.
have it up anymore. If you don't want, yeah.
That's the fate of a lot of Dojin circles, I think. They just
Yeah.
they graduate school and then they get real jobs, and they don't have time to fool around and make Dojin works anymore, like that happens,
Yeah, for sure.
Well, anyway, let's talk about Yamagen.
Yeah, let's.
Who is a guitarist and vocalist of his own group, Yamagen's Devil Elliot.
That's so cool.
Like, what does that mean? He has contributed guitars and vocals to projects of Pizuya and Taka of Crow's Claw, in the past, as late as 2013, which at this point is now 7 years ago. But he still releases his own music. I think actually, if M3 wasn't killed by the coronavirus, he would have released a new album or a new release this M3. But it seems like more recently he's focused on designing or creating guitar pedals. Looking at his website, he's
yeah.
I mean, that's cool. Like, but anyway, he's credited for performing all the vocals for this album. However, he's not credited for the lyrics, and no one is actually. So I'm not quite sure who wrote the lyrics for this album. And for the record, there are no lyrics in the booklet.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a single, a single sheet, right?
Yeah, there's really it's really nothing else.
Yeah, it's a single fold. Like, it's not even like it's not staple. It's just the single piece that's been folded over, the classic. Although they did get the what's that thing called, like the paper that's on the side of the album,
the obi.
Yes, the obi. Thank you. The obi would imply it's a full, like it's a not a half CD, like not a thin case CD. It's like the full CD.
Mm-hmm.
It's just funny that they didn't. I wonder why they didn't want to put the words in there. Although they're not the only people who have written all English lyrics and then didn't put any of them in the booklet. Anyway,
maybe that's part of the mystique.
Yeah, I guess it's cool though. We'll get there. Next is Godwood, who is the other member of Pizuya's cell. Godwood is credited with having played the keys, I guess specifically the piano, but maybe the other synths too. But Pizuya does that stuff too with the synth programming. So I don't know if Godwood actually does that, or if he only does the performances, like
where it's like specifically playing piano.
Yeah. He's known within, I guess, within the group of Pizuya Cell itself, like their instrumental piano arrangement albums. So it's Godwood who performs all of those albums. He's good. I shouldn't say he. They're good. I don't know who they are.
No, you would be right in saying he. He
Oh,
also has a photo of himself on VGMDB.
Oh, okay.
He is, oh Christ, is that 42 years old? Birthday 1978.
Huh.
That seems old for someone who is involved in Touhou, but on the
he
flip
just
side,
plays the piano. I still think Pizuya is doing most of the arrangement, right? Does Godwin
no,
actually arrange?
you're right. You're absolutely right. I was just thinking about like the average age of Touhou Dojin music participants.
Fair enough.
We're not, spring chickens ourselves.
Well, I guess compared to people who usually do Dojin stuff, right? Like I said, I know I don't know if you, the listener, are gonna take it as a joke when I say that you finish school and then you get a real job, but that's actually how it usually is. There, kids in high school and college are the ones who are mostly doing circle participation. I feel like,
Yeah, the gent folks from last time, they were like what, 98? So they'd be like 21, 22.
Yeah, that's still, that's either, just a few years out of high school or still in college, like that's kind of like the norm. I feel like whenever I've been in the event, it's like it's younger people,
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I didn't actually start doing my Dojin Katsudo, if you could say that, until I actually just had finished college. So I was started late.
Yeah.
And actually, Seidoro of Shinigiwa Saddle, when we had first met, he's like, no, I started when I was 25, he told me, is what he said. So, like, you can start late, but you've got to have a different lifestyle, I guess. Most people just do it while they're in school and they have free time. And then when they get hit with the adult responsibilities of needing to make money and live,
right,
live life, they don't have time anymore, or they can't
exactly
they can't justify the time that it does take to release works. People who still make dojin ongaku or have their own dojin katsudo, their dojin activities, past school. It's like, shouts out to you guys, because it's tough.
it's tough to juggle that. That's why I haven't done anything in the last like 3 years.
Well, you like DDR too, so
Oh my God. that's separate.
Oh, okay. Well,
my obsession with DDR does not like prevent me from writing any music.
Well, no. I'm just saying it's a time thing, Like, there's only a limited amount of time in the day,
Oh, okay. I get you.
I waste a lot of time playing gacha games on my phone. If I did less of that, I'd have more time to make music, But I'm an idiot.
Same.
Here we are recording a podcast instead of making music. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, next it's a Tsuten of Sakabato. Sounds SKT, sounds skirt. They're a drummer and a bassist too. They've quietly been active in the Dojin scene for about 15 years. That's possibly more than Pizuya himself. Which is he's a self-proclaimed rhythm obsessive songwriter. And they've supported Pizuya and aforementioned Taka of Crow's Claw and even Minstrel, as well as released their own songs under their circle, Sakabato. I guess his most recent, solo arrangement release was Touhou back in 2018. Like, that's still pretty recent, So even if it's not as often, I guess, as some circles, he's still active. He has game OST credits as well, so they're keeping busy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for the album, they are credited as drum support, and on their own website, they list it as drum manipulation on all songs. It's very specifically written out like that, drum manipulation for all songs. And that's interesting because if you look right below that on his website, you see he also put, for Grimoire of Alice, it's just a vague drum support credit, So I don't know how much they did for the original, the Grimoire of Alice, but I'm guessing that he programmed not necessarily like the fills, but like he possibly did the humanization for, I guess, the MIDI drum parts, because these are drum samples. It's not recorded drums, and you can tell some parts you can tell more than others. But spoiler alert, overall, it's pretty good humanization. Like the drums sound great. So
yeah, especially in comparison to what they were in Grimoire of Alice.
Oh god, Grimoire of Alice. Okay, we'll get there. There's so much to talk about. And then last but certainly not least, we have Buriki, who is an illustrator, now most known as the illustrator for the light novels Denpa Onna to Seishin no Toku and Boku wa Tomodachi ga Tsukudai, which you may recognize as the English, I guess, localization for that first title is Ground Control to Psycho-Electric Girl, and then everyone knows the second, the latter is Haganai. It's that artist. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and I never made that connection until I looked back on it, like really recently. But this their contribution as the artist for the cover of this one and for Grimoire of Alice, all this came before they became the illustrator for those light novels.
See, now that you say that, but that's not quite true.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, at the time of this album's release, Haganai was already on its third volume.
Oh shit.
And Denpa Onna to Seishin Okutoko was the year before. So like they were just starting to hit it big.
Oh man, never mind then.
Well, no, I mean you're close though, but like they had just, like, this was, I don't know if Buriki actually contributed any more illustrations for Toho groups, but like on the old website, which you can still see linked on the Resurrection Ballad website, you can see like they drew a lot of Toho, like they were a Toho fan. The website's R-18, by the way, so I'm warning you here, and it'll be noted in the description, but it's not safe for work stuff on the website, but no, they're a big Toho fan, I think, which is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I really dig it.
And you can compare, like, if you look at what's actually, was drawn for Grimoire of Alice versus Resurrection Ballad, you're like, wait, this is the same person. The illustrations look completely different, like they really changed their, like, I guess, focus their style more. Because that's, what you see on Resurrection Ballad is literally just Denpa Onna or Haganai illustration, like that's literally the style. But if you look at Grimoire of Alice, which is also by Buriki, it's quite different, they're both good. It's just funny because you look at Resurrection Ballad and you're like, isn't this just Haganai? And it's like, yes.
Yeah, and it's only like in a 1 year span that their style changed.
Yeah,
to what it is, what we're familiar with today.
Oh, and I wrote Denpa. I thought maybe I've got my dates a little bit mixed up, but something was on its third volume basically by early 2010, because that's like the last update on their website, on the old website anyway. And it's just I forget which one it was, but it's one of those two series was on their third volume already. I don't know if it was Denpa Onna or if it was Haganai.
I took a quick peek. I think it was Denpa Onna.
Okay. But, I may have the dates mixed up a little bit then.
Yeah, it's 2009 is kind of just like a big blend in terms of like what Buriki contributed.
But yeah, I think that's really cool because like you show this album art to anyone, they're like, hey, it's Haganai, right? Like that's dope. Pretty cool if you ask me. But that's all that I have written for Buriki. Anyway, they're a pretty private person. It seems like I don't know if they have a Twitter where they post a lot, but they have information on Wikipedia and stuff. So I didn't really dig too much further into it than that,
Yeah, me neither.
But that's all the notes for the people. Like you've got quite an
ensemble of notable persons.
I don't know if it's yeah. I guess I'd say notable. I'm just like it's also, this is like 10 years ago. This is like a time portal that some of these websites are still working. So it's definitely like an interesting history lesson, at least for me. That's how I think about it. Just you arguably Pizuya Cell is still extremely a notable person, notable group. And of course, Buriki is a well-known illustrator. I wanted to say I had heard of Yamagen as well, but I actually, looking at his works, I'm like, no, I actually don't know why I recognize his name,
Really?
Yeah, I don't
You
know.
don't recall like the Barrage AM ring, like that all those collaborations?
I have honestly not. No, no.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
didn't really
fair.
listen. I didn't really listen to those. So, whoops. Sorry.
Okay, no, that's no problem at all.
That may be where I've seen his name before, because I definitely browsed the track list before. Did in Barrage Amring 0, the one that Foreground Eclipse released the demo version of Calm Eyes Fixed on Me Screaming, did he
That's
release
the one.
a UNO arrangement on that album?
Not you and Owen, but what is that? The stage 6 of Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, young descendant of
Tepes? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he contributed vocals to that.
Maybe I'm thinking of that. I don't know. It's just I feel like I've seen his name before, but I couldn't think of anything that I had actually heard by him. So. So this was really my first time listening to his, I guess, his vocal performances, because I'm not a huge Crow's Claw aficionado either. So I don't really know a lot about Crow's Claw, and to have read that he worked, with Taka as well on some of those releases from 7 years ago. 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
Was not a shock, I guess, but like, oh, that's neat, like that kind of feeling. But that's really all I have to say. I mean, if you have anything else that I missed, please, drop it in.
Yeah. So I guess you mentioned like this feeling like a history like warp or a history lesson, considering how long ago all this was. For a bit of trivia on my end, Pizuya Cell, before he redesigned all of it to what it currently looks like, he actually hosted some some guitar tabs of his earlier stuff on. So his earlier ones would be like Eternal, Circle 9, Symmetry, Bursum, stuff like that. So that's actually some of the first Touhou songs that I ended up trying to learn on guitar.
Huh.
And they were in Guitar Pro 5 format, GP5.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I guess that's how old GP5 is. I remember.
Yeah, Christ.
Wow. Yeah, back in college, I never used Guitar Pro. I still have a preference for Tux Guitar, the free open source tablature software that also opens Guitar Pro files. So I've always used that. But GP5 had just, I don't know if just come out, but it was still the most recent Guitar Pro. So
yeah, up until 2011 or so is when Guitar Pro 6 came out.
Do you still have those files? Was there any Grimoire of Alice?
No, unfortunately.
Son of a
I did dig around. There are a couple from this album that are like randomly floating around, but
probably not from him.
Yeah, definitely not from him, and they're incomplete. So bummer, but
lazy.
But really,
that's so cool, actually.
Yeah,
I don't know why you're laughing. I mean, I guess it's funny because you think that it's like, oh god, I'm such a nerd, and I still have these tab files from
I
10 years ago.
I'm not laughing at that. I'm just laughing at just the fact alone that Touhou Dojin Circle provides their tabs.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, or did anyway. He doesn't have them hosted anymore. That's just in the archive. Or does he still have them?
It should still be there.
Oh, cool. Huh.
Yeah, we will include a link in the description.
That's definitely something I think people would be. Well, some people might be interested in it. So yeah, I think it's worth posting.
Mm-hmm.
I just took a look at the picture of Godwood on VGMDB. He looks like a jolly guy. Like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a stand-up fellow. Oh yeah, there we go. Pizuya.com/archives/369.
Wow, yeah, that's like that looks like full albums worth of tabs. That's dope. Cool.
Yeah, so little neat bit of trivia if you want to play some old school Touhou metal arranges.
And this is old. This is like 2009 old school.
And so I sort of have a special affinity towards, these sort of riffs like metalcore because they're the only things I can play.
Yeah, but I mean, is there anything else, or should we dive into the songs? I feel like we've been talking for like half an hour already without even getting to the songs.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like I had more to say about the participants or the people who contributed.
There's a lot of them, yeah. Like,
yeah,
then they all have
the album itself.
The people have 10 years of history, so I feel like it's worth mentioning at least a little bit of it. I mean, we probably could have gone even further in depth, I feel like, but eventually we got to get to the songs, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely fair. Yeah, I've said my piece.
All right, well then let's just dive right in. The first song is called Crazy Clock Cracker. Which is an arrangement from Perfect Cherry Blossom. It's Boss 3. 人形裁判、人の形持って遊びし少女. It's doll judgment. It's the girl who play with people's shapes. And we're going to spend more time trying to say that than we are to talk about this song because it's just an intro track. Like it's
so wind up toy box with
music box.
Music box with a clock ticking in the left channel. It's playing the theme.
It's the theme. It's like this is like classic Dojin intro track filler. Pad out your track list. That's not, I mean, you can take it in a negative way if you want, but I love this stuff. But it's also definitely the kind of thing you skip if you just want to get to the album. So
yeah, you're not missing much. You can appreciate it for what it is.
Oh yeah, like it's definitely like, this is my album. Here's the intro track, and that's cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
To me, it's not like it's not an arrangement, but it really is just track filler to me,
Yeah. And it's interesting just from my perspective, it's interesting that they would take what I understand to be like the most popular theme that you would associate with Alice as just
it's her boss theme. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like one of the most popular Touhou themes in general, with basically like solely due to Marissa Stole the Precious thing. And so I don't know.
No, I mean, you're right. They don't come back to this song at all for the rest of the album. Like, this is the only time you hear Doll Judgment,
Yeah. And it's just a music box, which I think personally is kind of a bummer because did you listen to its version in the Grimoire of Alice?
I actually don't think I did. I think I just skipped over it because
that's fair. There, it's actually a really nicely done piano rendition.
Huh.
It's not just like the theme. It's this is where Godwood, his contribution really shines. Like it definitely serves its purpose as an intro track. But it sounds really nice. It's a good arrangement.
Oh yeah.
And then it ends with Godwood just slamming on random keys.
That's great, actually. Crazy Clock Cracker in Resurrection Ballad doesn't do that. Huh. That's cool. Yeah, I think I actually do kind of prefer it this way. Gosh, I'm not actually sure why, because now I'm gonna go back and listen to Resurrection Ballad real quick. Skip to the end of that, because as I recall, the second track, they tried to add like dissonant bells ringing to the Resurrection Ballad version.
Yeah, I think it transitions better to the second track, Romantic Children, but as like an arrange, there's not a lot going on.
Yeah. But I guess we can just lead right into Romantic Children, right?
Yeah.
Crazy Cockcracker and the Resurrection Ballad actually just sort of tries to, like, it gets louder just to build up to this immediately, swinging right out of the gate, Romantic Children with this classic early 2000s metalcore sound. Yamagen just comes in screaming like,
like guitars chugging. We're in there.
No, it's so dope. It blew me away the first time I listened to it, because I have not listened to this album before. You said, "Hey, we're gonna review this one," and I'm like, okay. But I listened and I was like, wow, okay, here we go. This sounds just like 20 years ago metalcore. Shout outs to the JP guy I follow, who only tweets about In Flames.
Oh my god, really?
Lunar Strain Across the Sky. Shout outs to that guy or girl. I don't know who it is. Shout outs to them, because definitely get the vibe, like the tone of the guitars, the playing, it just throws you back. And I know this album came out in 2009, but Dojin Ongaku is always a few years behind what the mainstream is doing.
Or you could be Iron Attack and just straight up arrange an Iron Maiden song from the 80s.
Yeah, well, Dojin circles have a lot of history of just parodying actual songs. I think it was once someone, I think Goda showed me the Saint Jimmy by Green Day parody of Toho. And I'm like, yo, I'm just like, you can find a parody for anything, QB Fox, Fukan QB Fox does it all the time. There's probably more that you don't even know too. Like, there's a Register 6 song that rips off a Foreground Eclipse song that probably ripped off something else. It's just all copies of copies. But it's fun, Dojin is so fun. Dojin is fun. That's really what it is.
Yeah, it really is.
But yeah, dude, he just comes in screaming. It's great.
What do you think of his vocal style, Yamagen?
So I wrote this for the next song, but I can talk about it now. So I really like Yamagen's clean vocals, and you don't hear them for a while in this first song. He actually screams for what feels like the first third of the song. But his harsh vocals, those screams, I feel like they're a little dry, kind of thin and raspy. I wish there was more body to them a little bit, like you get used to it after a while and they still sound great. It's great, but you listen to his clean vocals and they sound just like super full and deep, and his highs are just like, he's more like he's trying to shout from his I guess just from his throat, instead of like using his full body. You know what I mean?
I getcha, yeah.
And I guess that's just a criticism, but like I still think that, like, you get used to them, they're good. And I actually, like I said, I really like his clean vocals. I guess my first reason for actually going back and checking out Grimoire of Alice after finishing my notes for this album, for Resurrection Ballad, was, well, these songs on Resurrection Ballad, they feel like they were written with harsh vocals in mind, so I'm like, what did they do in Grimoire of Alice for this stuff? And a lot of the clean vocal stuff is, like you said, they used synths to sort of put those vocal, like the I'm air quoting right now, but the vocal melodies were just, you know, performed by a synth, you know. I get, for the most part, they just left those just with the shred, you know, with the guitar riffing, you know. It really does feel like a demo when you go back to Grimoire of Alice, because these songs sound great with the harsh vocals in them. I love this. This sounds amazing. I love it. Your hit, like the guitar tone is great. The bass is not, I guess, up front, but it's not too quiet either. Like, you would definitely be able to hear if it was taken out. The mix is great. Like, the mixing balance is great, and the drums sound really nice too. And I've already mentioned their samples. There's some parts you definitely can tell it's a sample, you know, it's not a real performance, but like, they sound great in the mix. This is just right off the bat, you're hit with a great production values are really high here. I was so impressed, and it's so dope.
Awesome.
I wish I knew what the lyrics were, but you know, that's the fun. You know, that's the fun of it too. It's like you're just listening to the music, I guess. You know, I wrote a note here. I really like the subdued synths at 40 seconds.
Yeah,
like behind his shouting vocals.
Yeah, I've noted this in a later track, but I really think that whatever the synths that stand out, like that are like in the front of the mix in Grimoire of Alice, they're still there in Resurrection Ballad, but
yeah, they just pushed them back for a lot. Yeah. Like that was more like a lead in Grimoire of Alice, but they pushed it back to make room for his vocals. I'm like headbanging right now.
And that again lends back to your idea that that Grimoire of Alice is more of a demo, because when you compare the two, it's like the harsh vocals, they're meant to be in there. Like you push back the synths and the vocals slot right in. And
then and 140 is actually when you first get a taste of the clean vocals. So you've basically been listening to the album for almost 4 or 5 minutes at this point before the clean vocals come in. And then they just blow you away again. You know, you got blown away 2 minutes ago by these screams, and it's like, oh yeah. And then the clean vocals come in at the 1 minute 40-second mark, and it's just like, oh yeah. And it's so dope. Like the clean, I love the clean vocals. They sound great.
Yeah, I love the 2-part harmony. I think in pretty much all of the clean vocal sections throughout this album, it is in 2-part harmony. Sometimes with the harsh vocals layered on top.
Yes, so, exactly. That just happened. As I'm listening to the album and you at the same, like, nope, that just happened. So dope.
And it's all Yam again. Shouts to him.
And those clean vocals come at the perfect time, because you're actually starting to get a little fatigued by just hearing the shouting for the 1 minute and 40 seconds of the first song. So like, this song really cleans up, you know? What a good song. Oh, I wrote that you know, the chorus is the note I wrote here is the song doesn't get really good until the chorus. It's a really catchy vocal line, you know? Da 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 da, you know, like I'm assuming that's just Touhou, the Touhou part, but it sounds so good as a vocal melody. God, so good.
What a great opener.
Yeah, the fade out for this song is really awkward. It's my last note for it, so I'm gonna actually check that right now. But
yes, you're right. The drum fill, it kind of just sort of
it's like they're trying to end it, and then they decided they wanted to end it with a fade out, and I'm like, you could have ended it with just just like a big chord at the end, you know, but whatever.
Which is what they do later on.
Yeah, but I think that's better than fade out. Like,
I agree.
I've said it before, I hate fade outs, and it's like you almost ended the song properly, but you decided to fade it out anyway. Whatever. That's just a minor complaint about a really good song. It's a good song. Good song.
Good song.
So,
good song.
Anything else for that one, or we can jump right into the next one?
No, because the notes for the first song of pretty much like in all our reviews, the first song, it usually has the most notes because it's like points that touch upon the album as a whole, like
true.
The mixing, the tone of like guitar tone, etc.
True.
For the song itself, no, I don't have anything really to say. Like I mentioned, I like the riffs because I can play them.
They're good riffs.
No frills, nothing particularly technical, just straight up metalcore.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
just classic metalcore. But no, you bring up a good point about how the first song always has the, I guess, the longest section, pretty much in any of our reviews as well, because we have the most to say. Because the first song of the album, the first real song, I know we talked about the intro song, Crazy Clock Cracker, just a few minutes ago, but the first song is really where you get your first impressions of the album. And if it's not if it's not a good first song, that can really sort of color your
initial impression.
Yeah, I guess that is what I was looking for. I didn't want to say impressions. I'm like, no, I think I did want to say impressions. But yeah, your first impressions of the album are literally in the first song. So you really want to put your best foot forward if you're making music, you know. If you have an intro track, fine, but your first song after the intro track is really important, I think. That's what I think, anyway.
I doubt there would be very many that would disagree with you.
Well, excuse me for thinking like everybody else. So the next song is called WEII. I don't actually know. Is it WEII? Is that German? Like,
could be WEII 2.
It's
in
possible,
like the Roman numeral.
Yeah, I don't actually know. It's got the subtitle World's End Est, which is, you know, it's the final stage from Mystic Square. Sekai no Hate, a world's end.
Which translates to end of the world's end.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Zune.
Appreciate it.
Well, no, I mean, I love that I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, I laugh, but I actually do love that kind of naming. So, I'm just a big nerd. But this song, you know, starts with another classic metalcore riff.
A classic metal intro or metal.
Oh yeah,
intro.
like that 2009 synth intro.
Exactly.
I wrote about the riff itself. If anything, it's maybe a little cliche, but I don't listen to a ton of metalcore anymore, so I don't really mind it. But you know, it's like you know, like,
yeah, the alt pick special.
Yeah, drums sound great. Listen to this drum part. Like,
oh, it's so good.
And then the vocals come in, and just like you said, you got the clean. It's doubled. I don't think there's a harmony, but it is doubled, and he's also shouting the same words on top too. So it's like, it sounds really full, and you have I'm assuming this is the Touhou melody, but once again, it sounds great as a vocal part. Da 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 da. You know, like these drums sound great. Like, listen to the drum part during the verse.
Yeah, that is one of the things I noted down, like how technical really these drum patterns are.
You can really hear it though in the verse when MyonMyon is doing the shouting and his cleans aren't covering it up. How like dry and raspy his throat's like his throat screaming sounds. It's just not. It's fun. You get used to it, but it's really weak here. Like in this first verse particularly, I don't know if you feel the same way, but like,
it doesn't have as much body to it that I would come to expect, I suppose, from harsh vocals.
Well, not necessarily that I expect, but like that I'd want to hear, you know? Like,
okay, yeah.
I wish there was just a little bit, you know, more, you know, like, instead of, you know. But, you know, it's Dojin, so you gotta
and maybe that's just his style.
You know, and maybe it is. And if it is, I'm not in love with it, but you get used to it. And the album, you know, the rest of the album, to me, is, spoiler, it makes up for this minor critique that I have, you know, this minor complaint that I have. I don't really have a lot of notes for this one, beyond There's a shred alert at 3 minutes and 12 seconds.
Oh yeah, the first solo.
Yeah.
Yeah, there really isn't that much to say other than everyone's just going ham. It's like it's the fastest song, I believe.
Is it?
It definitely feels like the fastest, especially when you the one part with the blast beats, I think.
Yeah, skank. Oh no, there's the blast beat. Yep.
Like that's fast, and they go at that same like breakneck pace the entire song.
It's a good chorus. I hear those harmonies. You know, it's great. The song's good. I like it, even if I don't have to say about it.
Yeah, that's
like it doesn't get repetitive. You know, like that's the like it's a high energy song that doesn't get too comfortable with itself. You know, like I don't know how else to describe it. You know.
Mm-hmm. Are you just listening to it again?
I just got to the end. Do you have anything else to say about it, or should we talk about the next one?
No, let's mosey on over to Myth Logic, and I'm going to assume they meant to spell out infinite, but they missed. They hit the G instead, and it's Myth Logic Infinite.
Infinite. No, it is misspelled. It is supposed to be infinite, and it's not Myth Logic Infinity. You know, you might assume that based on the obi, but it is no. That's a small e sound, so it's just infinite. So it's Myth Logic Infinite. Inginit. It is spelled Inginit on I think the website.
Both Grimoire of Alice and Resurrection Ballad.
But it's correct. But it's spelled correctly on the CD itself, which is funny to me. Like you look in the booklet for Resurrection Ballad, and it's spelled correctly.
So which one is the true canon?
Infinite. It's even in Japanese. They have the Japanese track list. It's Infinite. It's Myth Logic Infinite. Fight me. It's nuts.
But what if it isn't? VGMDB says Infinite.
Yeah, well, VGMDB is dumb.
Exactly.
They don't have the Japanese on VGMDB. They always Romanize everything. They don't actually have the Japanese on there, which is dumb. Like they have tabs like, oh, here it is in Japanese. It's like, well, you Romanized it. So
that doesn't help me at all.
It doesn't. Yeah, no. So it's Myth Logic Infinite.
It's Myth Logic Infinite. It is not Alice. It's Shinky's theme.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I actually forgot to get the translated title in my notes, so
I got it. It's
to you.
Shinwa Genso, Legendary Illusion, Infinite Being, Shinky's theme, final stage.
Who the hell's Shinky?
Final stage boss of Mystic Square.
Huh.
And that is also what one of my notes is. I was gonna ask you, do you remember her at all, or do you remember what her relationship with Alice is?
I've never played Mystic Square.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the PC 98 games, right?
Yes.
No, I never played any of those. So
okay.
I haven't even played a lot of the Windows games.
No, me neither. I know we've touched upon this before, but the last game I played was 10 Desires.
I played the one, I'm pretty sure, 10 Desires, was that game 10 or was that game 11? And Double Dealing Character was game 12?
you're right. That 10 Desires is game 11 because 10 is Mountain of Faith.
Right. Okay. Anyway, I played the game that came right after. I played Double Dealing character, so I beat it once on normal.
Yeah, same.
For Double Dealing. So
we're not total frauds.
Well, no, we'd probably be called and this is with air quotes, secondaries. I don't understand that kind of stuff, so I'm not really.
Is that term still in vogue today?
I don't know. I'm not with the Chan culture. You know what I mean? Like
that was definitely a thing like early 2010s.
Early 2010s, yeah. But
anywho,
yeah,
that's a lot of
we're talking about Myth Logic Infinite.
What's it about?
I don't know. We don't have the lyrics. But it starts off like this song overall definitely feels more like, now in retrospect that I've listened to some Myon, it feels like this song has more Myon influence. It definitely has more, I don't know if like religious is the word I'm looking for, but like it has that more like that kind of holy gothic sound to it,
Yeah, and
like it even starts with like chanting,
Exactly. In this song, in particular, more so than any of the others, Yamagen's vocals sound more like chanting, and especially when he's layering, like his harmonizing. It definitely gives off that vibe.
Yeah, there's a lot more reverb too to make him like you really feel like you're in a big space, And not to skip ahead to like one of the better parts of the song, but like 2:15, it's like there's a horn section. Like this sounds great.
It rules, dude. I love it.
What a cool breakdown. Like right before you just get a blast beat fill, and then everything just cuts, and you got chanting with the horn section. Like, what is this?
The chorus is so good, dude.
Like the horns just fade in, and it's, oh god, what a great break. And then so that's like a bridge section if you want to call it that. But then at 2:46, the part right after, they actually go into an actual breakdown. And they add like this classic, I don't know if you want to call it like it's not really a math rock thing, because it's definitely like more like where you just add a couple of extra beats at the end of your 4/4 pattern to like throw people off,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
It's like, like, I don't know. I've probably lost the beat at a point there, but like they add something like extra. That. They add a couple extra beats, like a couple extra eighth notes, and that's just classic metal, where they would do that back in like, I don't want to say it's only when they did it, but like even back in the 80s, like Metallica's like, oh, we just add a couple extra measures or cut a few notes from a measure just to scare people, and it's like, well, here it is, they've added a couple extra beats to sort of throw you off the standard 4/4 time. This song's great. I love this song, but I don't actually have a lot of notes for it besides that. Like, it's great, because really when you get down to it, it's more metalcore riffs. This song has a horn section and like chanting, but it hasn't gotten like tiring yet.
Yeah, there's enough variation, and
exactly,
and especially in like the drums, even.
Yes,
there's so much variation, like Zuten, or with his, I don't know like who originally like programmed it, but it's just so creative in like the fills and patterns.
Yeah, I wonder if Zuten did fills and stuff, or if that was also Pizuya Myon doing like the drum fills, and Zuten was just humanizing it, or if Zuten did program like write fills and drum parts for the album. Because like you're exactly right as far as variation goes. Like this album is not staying in the same place. It is, well, it hasn't really branched out a ton at this point. Like now there's a horn section in this song, and like the chanting, I keep bringing it up, but it hasn't stepped too far out of its comfort zone, but it has stepped far enough that you're not getting bored of what you're listening to,
Like it's in the zone, but not like the comfort zone. If you get like the distinction between it.
But no, I don't have like, I think this song is great, but I don't really have a lot to say beyond what we've already been talking about,
Exactly. Yeah,
I don't know
me
what's so
neither.
funny. I feel bad because I do like this song a lot.
No, I mean I've been laughing just because. So I mentioned before we kick things off that
Mm,
I felt like I had more to say about the circles themselves than the actual album, and
mm.
it's sort of because because of the nature of like it's metalcore, it's
Yeah, I guess the nature of this album specifically, it is a straight up metalcore album. And I think, spoiler alert from when we get to the end, I think that production, like it is a well produced metalcore album. And I think that production pushes how good this album is beyond what you would expect, you know,
yeah.
based on the arrangements themselves. Like the album sounds great. Especially for a 10-year-old Dojin album. This is a Dojin album.
Yeah, but I mean they were pushing out some hits like the late 2000s. You know, that was like Demetori's prime.
Yeah, but I never listened to Demetori. We should review some of those.
Oh no.
This is-
Yeah, maybe we should.
we should, but no, like yeah. So let's just move on to Breed's Puppet. That's the next song.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
This is an arrangement of Bucuresti no Ningyoshi, doll maker of Bucuresti. Or Bucuresti? In Japanese, Bucuresti. Yeah, so Bucuresti. Is that a real place, or did Zune just make that up? Or
You know, off the top of my head, I would probably say it's just a Zune thing.
probably.
Google says Bucharest in Romania.
I believe
The
that.
capital of Romania. I
Hmm.
mean, that
I mean,
seems
he
that
just
seems
makes-
right.
Yeah. It's the stage 3 of Perfect Cherry Blossom, so we're back to PCB one last time, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, you get this Halloween theme ass intro. Like, listen to this and tell me it doesn't remind you of Halloween. But she really got some thick bass. Like you can hear her slide. It sounds like she's finger playing, but just the way the strings are flopping about, it sounds like she's finger playing. But I'm actually not an expert because I pick my bass. Like I've only ever recorded bass with pick, so I just know my bass playing doesn't sound like that. So I'm assuming she's finger playing. You know.
I agree. But my opinion holds significantly less water because I don't play bass at all.
Fair enough. So it has like this Halloween ass intro for the first 15 seconds. And it sounds really nice. And then like it just abruptly, well, not abruptly, it still fits, but like there's got to be like, I didn't actually look into it, but like this must be like a mode change or something, because it feels like the notes, like the tone has changed completely with the drums and the piano speeding up. It's a good way to break up what I wrote in here is the monotony of this metalcore. I know we just praised the last few songs for being like keeping it varied, but this is actually like breaking up the monotony of just having guitar riffs for the last about 12 minutes or so, you know?
Yeah.
Once again, you're hit with these great drum fill in the intro. And this is just such classic metalcore sounding. When the guitar comes in, it's just like chugging, you know. It's like it's not a riff; it's just chords, you know. Like this is metalcore. Yeah. There sounds like there's an octave riff and then a little bit of actual riffing. So the vocals come in at about 36 seconds, and you're like, this is the first time I felt like I was, you know, beyond the intro, which was obviously the Touhou melody, but this was the first time I was hit with the, oh, here's the Touhou melody as the vocal part. And it's
exactly.
a little,
I'm right there with you.
like it's fine, but it doesn't, like the last few songs are very, I don't know if creative is the right word, but they didn't feel like Touhou songs, you know, which is something I like. I don't like having the Touhou part shoved down my throat, I guess. And maybe that's just because I'm not intimately familiar with a lot of the songs, you know?
The 3 prior themes were all from Mystic Square, and which we're not particularly familiar with. So maybe it's sort of like a reflection of Zun's composition style, that whatever they made use of for the vocals in these, like whatever they drew from the themes in those past 3 songs, the past 3 songs, they didn't really like scream out, this is Touhou.
Yeah, that's fair. He did have a, you know, a lot of those songs are pretty different from the Windows songs, you know? It also might have to be with everyone has heard this melody before. Da 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 da, you know, like
exactly. And I think that, yeah, that's definitely the other thing, is that Dollmaker of Bucharesti, like that part in itself doesn't lend well to vocals.
Being a vocal part.
Yeah, it's too up and down.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. But this was the first time I was struck by that feeling where I was kind of disappointed, I guess.
It's got a sick solo.
I actually wrote lots of notes for this song.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Let's hear them. I don't have much.
So at one, there's another shift here. It may be shifting modes back to what it was the very intro. Like there's definitely a mode shift here, and then, you know, the chorus is right after that. You know, despite the song, you know, I know I praised the song a few minutes ago for starting with this piano part, and like the intro sounds cool, but the chorus has like the weakest vocal melody. That's probably from the source, but it's not that it goes up and down like this the verse melody did. It's just da 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 da, and I'm like, this is not, it's not catchy in this key, at least, you know. And then problem is, like, immediately after this chorus, it repeats the exact same verse and chorus that I already didn't like the first time through. So let's skip ahead to 250, where I think the shred alert.
Solo's good.
Yeah, like the second chorus, which, like I said, it repeats the verse and the chorus exactly the same way again. Kind of lazy, but about 242 comes in with like a little piano interlude, and then it has like this nice little slowdown part. Like the tempo just drops for a second, you know, and it's like it's just solo bass and drums for a second. It's cool, actually. I like that.
Yeah, it's a good transition.
Like the song actually slows down in tempo. Like they just abruptly drop tempo and then speed back and then pick it back up and then shred alert. And then you do a drum solo, like a drum fill, and then abruptly do the chorus again, which is in a different mode from what you were doing in the solo. So it sounds weird. It sounds like a truck driver key change, but it's not. It's a mode change, so I'll let it go. It's the same key as the previous choruses were, but it doesn't sound, this song's really weak to me.
Yeah.
It just feels like there wasn't much thought put into the vocal part. And I don't actually remember if Grimoire of Alice was the same way, and it's like they just brought it over and it was just, but it's not, wow, this song is almost 5 minutes long and we're only at 324, and I'm just like, they went to the chorus again 3 times in 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this one. It's the longest track, and it's the track that repeats parts the most times.
It's probably my least favorite track on here. I did not notice it the first time I was listening to it, but, you know, the second time For the record, I only listened to the album twice before writing my note. Like I wrote my notes during my second listen. I did not have to listen to it a few times to sort of solidify my thoughts about, solidify my feelings for the record. I like the outro,
Yeah, intro, outro, and the fast shreddy part with the solo.
I just
very
feel like
nice.
I just feel like they cut some corners with the most important parts of the song, which is
Not ideal.
not ideal. So that's probably my least favorite song on the album. Do you have anything else to talk about with that one?
Maybe check out its Grimoire of Alice version to see
Sure.
how they did the chorus. It's synths. I think it's in a different
the synth actually. I prefer Resurrection Ballad version because they've in the original it was a synth part instead of piano for the intro and stuff.
Oh yeah, that part definitely, but just for the chorus in specific.
Oh, okay. Give me just a second
the
here.
presence of
Oh god, and it's like you can hear the TOUHOU part more in the Grimoire of Alice version when like the first first mode shift, I should say, like because it's like and it's like, oh, that's the TOUHOU part. It's different in Grimoire of Alice. I don't want to say if I'm not sure if it sounds better to me or not. It's definitely like you can, because they add more like eighth notes to spice up the end of the melody, but it's still not a great melody in the first place,
Yeah, that's definitely true.
It's like or something like that, and it's just like, so it's just
It probably reflects more on the source theme.
Yeah, total arrangement's hard. It's it's surprising they that we're on track. What is it? Track 5?
5.
Yeah, and this is the first bad song. Well, not bad, but it's like the weakest song. And we're more than halfway through the album.
Mm-hmm. Some themes are just can't do much with them. Like Luna Dial, there's like 2 things to base your stuff off of. Flowering Night, there's just like the thing, and that's it.
It's tough. The road to the road of arrangement is long and hard. Let's talk about Mind is Love Holic.
Part 3. Called Part 3?
Well, because they cut Part 1. It's been cut entirely. It was this Super Nintendo Final Fantasy ass song.
Dude, it's actually super sick. It's corny, and that's why I think it's sick.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fair. It's literally like a Kefka, and I haven't played that game, but it's like Kefka's theme.
It's
dramatic,
church organ and brass.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's literally Super Nintendo samples. Yeah, I mean that's in that regard it's pretty cool. But anyway, that part has been cut completely, so they've renamed it Part 3. But it's really just a rearrangement of Part 2, and I guess they just wanted to call it Part 3.
It's a little faster.
Oh yeah,
and pitched down. But really, it's just Part 2.
It is, yeah, it is pitched down. I remember noticing that when I was listening to the to Part 2, and I'm assuming this riff is part of the source. I feel like I've heard this. It's Plastic Mind. Plastic Mind is the arrangement, the original source it's arranged from. So like the like I feel like I've heard those intervals before. So I'm like I know Plastic Mind is a relatively popular Mystic Square song, right? Like I feel like that's
Yeah, it's Alice's theme.
along with Fushigi no Kuni no Arisu, which is coming up a few songs
Oh,
later. But
oh
like
man.
I feel like those are the two more popular Mystic Square songs. Yeah, they're pretty they're pretty popular, I think. So I feel like I have heard those intervals before. So at 21 seconds, there's it's the Toho melody.
Yes,
Ah.
which is also
It's kind of yeah, it's kind of
kind of
But then at 35 seconds, there's a great mode shift here. At 35 seconds.
yeah. I'm more fine with that.
I'm not a huge fan of the chorus. It starts at 50 seconds
Yeah, I'm there right now.
because it's just it's Toho melody, and it's not as bad to me as the last song Breed's Puppet was, but like just not as bleh, I guess. But it's still kind of feels a little lazy to me because it's just once again it's the double bass, the chords are just long power chords, and it's just the Toho melody thrown on top.
Oh, but there is that one part.
Oh, the part at 117.
Hell yeah, baby.
I wish they put a little reverb on the cowbell. Just so that it sat back in the mix a little bit. It's a little in your face, Considering how well the rest of the drums are mixed on the album, it just feels like the cowbell's not part of the kit. That's just my opinion.
Maybe that's Yum again hitting that cowbell.
It's in the right ear though. It's only in the right ear. It's part of the kit. But that's a problem with programmed drums. It's when you don't make them sound like they're actually in a room, and that's when it first stuck out to me. Like, okay, it's programmed, because for the most part you don't even notice it because the mix is really good. But that cowbell, even if it was, as you say, Yamagen is playing the cowbell. But it's someone like if it's not part of the drum kit, it's not part of the room. It's just someone they threw the cowbell sample in there, and it just doesn't fit in the mix. They didn't fit it in the mix. Just a minor, it's just a minor complaint I have, minor critique, a small criticism,
a quibble, if you will,
a tiny boo boo. This isn't a bad song. Just like Breed's Puppet isn't a bad song, but to me, these two are definitely the weaker songs on the album. Breed's Puppet being a little worse than this one.
At least this one's a minute and a half shorter.
Yes.
Despite that, it still suffers the same issue of just repeating parts, and the parts that it is repeating are not very memorable.
Yes. I guess we'll just go ahead and talk about Grimoire of Alice. Mystic Square Extra Boss, Grimoire of Alice. My first note is I don't have a lot to say about this one. It's fine.
That's actually exactly my thoughts as well. I noted down me being the one who suggested it, and this was one of the first Touhou metal albums with harsh vocals that I had listened to. And so having said all that, this came out in 2009, part of my formative years. I've listened to this album. many times, and I can never remember what this song sounds like.
My first actual note is that at 155, I mean, I really like the subdued string synths behind the guitars and the strings.
Oh yeah, that's a nice touch.
They were lead like that was like the lead melody in the original version. It's it's nice putting them in the back here behind the shouts. It's not a shred alert, but there's a nice little melodic solo at 228. Like it's just a nice little pattern solo. It's just I don't know.
It's not chug riff.
I don't know if you'd call it, but it's like it's pretty.
Its presence is welcome.
Hmm.
I'll say that much.
Nice drum parts at 245 during this bridge.
Yeah, and again, shout outs to whoever was in charge of the humanization, because these fills in
They're great.
The previous one, like in the fills for the Grimoire of Alice, the song, in the Grimoire of Alice, the album, sound bad. Horrendous even.
Yes, no, they're amazing here. And the humanization sounds great. Like they really are programmed to sound like they were played by a person. They sound like a master drummer is playing them. Like there's a lot of finesse in the way they were programmed. They sound great. I love them. I like how they doubled up with his vocal part at about 3 minutes. Right after those drum fills, they doubled it up with the synth. But you're definitely right that this song is not bad, but I definitely wouldn't remember it. It's definitely not memorable to me like the first half of this album is. Like I definitely feel like I'd be able to remember Romantic Children and Mythologic Infinite like more than this,
Yeah, definitely.
But it's definitely not a bad song. Like I don't feel like the vocal melodies aren't. I don't know if lazy is the right word, but that's what I'm gonna say. Like they're not lazy here. It sounds like a well arranged, metal song. Yeah, like
and the vocals, they're again definitely the Touhou melody, but they're fine in the way that they are here.
Once again, I'm not totally familiar with Mystic Square, and I'm wondering, is that why I feel that way about the last two songs? Well, no, it can't be, because I didn't. It's like I haven't listened to a ton of Plastic Mind either. It's just like it's not melodies that lend themselves to being vocal melodies, I guess. Whereas here they sound a lot more like vocal melodies.
Yeah.
Arranging is tough.
It is. It really is.
But I don't really have anything else to say about this one. It's all right, but definitely on the weaker half of the album.
Yeah, I would place it like
if I was gonna rate the songs, it would be in the lower half.
Agreed. Just what I was gonna say. In stark contrast,
we have Resurrection Ballad. I guess that's what you're leading into. Fushigi no Kuni no Arisu, which is the extra stage from Mystic Square. Fushigi no Kuni no Alice, another very popular from PC98. I think this has more to do with Alice's popularity than the game itself. It's like it's got Alice in the name. It's an Alice song. People look it up, and it's like, the melody is great. Like
holy guacamole! No, it truly is. It's one of my.
The source melody actually is like a top tier. really wrote a good song.
Yeah, it truly is one of my favorite themes across like all of Touhou. Probably top 5, if not top 3. I'm gonna be up front. This song and also Tam TA Music.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did an arrange of Alice in Wonderland. So this song and his arrange are probably the two most formative songs in like making Alice in Wonderland one of my favorite themes.
Huh.
So not to bury the lead, I really like this song. It's probably my favorite.
Well, my first note is, did they just take the sound effect from Final Fantasy X's save point and use it in the intro? Like that, you hear that, right? Like that's not just me. Right?
With that little twinkling thing.
Yeah, like that's literally like Final Fantasy X's save point.
Was it really?
Yeah, let me see if I can get you a sound clip of that. But it definitely has that feeling to me. Like maybe I'm just remembering it wrong, but I don't know. I guess I can't find it, but that's what it sounds like to me. I don't actually know. Maybe I'm just making up that. That's what I first thought. That was like my first note. Just like, oh, did they just take the sound effect from Final Fantasy X's save point? That's what it sounds like to me. Anyway, it's Fushigi no Alice, Fushigi Alice, Weird Alice,
Weird Alice,
Creepy.
Weird Alice's country.
So they tease the main Touhou melody. Godwood's playing the piano with it. He's teasing it. And then the band comes in and plays this great intro. You got like the synths blaring, and then you got like the octave riff that goes into the dun 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 dun. It's like, yo, it's so good. Now I'm gonna be honest. They go back to the vocals do that piano. It's the source melody that the piano was teasing at, and they do the vocal part, and I think I wrote a note. They do it twice, which is
yes.
It's a little lazy, but it sounds like they use the Battletoad kick drum. Battletoad's kick drum for this part. Let me pull. I know I can pull up that.
Yeah, that kick is just drowning in reverb.
Here's what this drum part sounds like to me. Now tell me that's not Resurrection Ballad.
Add on a teensy bit more reverb and that's it. It's battle. It's Battletoads, dude. We've cracked the mystery. It uses the Final Fantasy X save point sound effect, and it uses the
Battletoads pause music. They're not exactly the same, but it's just a joke.
We're goofing around here.
Like he goes into a little screen part, and then it goes back to the same clean part again.
Yeah, that part of the clean part with the Battletoads kick, I am kind of on it, but I'll give it a pass because I like the theme.
I like the theme too, but I don't think it warrants giving it a pass. Now it repeats the shout part in between too. So basically, it's basically the same thing as what they had done in Breed's Puppet. It's just that the song is shorter, and like the parts are shorter, I should say. So really, they've only repeated the same two parts twice within a single minute, versus Breed's Puppet, which did it for 2 full minutes. Like okay, it's not as bad here. So at 137, the cool intro was revealed to be the chorus, and the other main source theme becomes the lead, which is cool. It's a great lead here, so that's really good. Like it sounds great as the chorus lead here. Da, da, da. Da, 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 that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like that intro has become the chorus is cool. So you hear it's like the octave riff and then the dun 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 dun, dun. So it's so good. And then you have the breakdown after that first chorus at 209. The synths are great here. They're just filling in the space between the chugs. And then there's another tasteful solo after this breakdown. Not shred alert, just another nice little solo, 232.
What a sick piano bridge.
With the lead vocals and more of that Final Fantasy X sound effect is what I wrote. The solo's
The
really
very same
nice.
one?
Like, oh yeah, that's a nice piano lead. Like that is actually a unique piano lead.
Gotta hand it to you, Godwood. You did good on this one.
Hmm. Oh man, I love that little vocal echo at like 304. Just go back to 3, and he's like wailing emotionally. And then like you hear like the
Yeah, I hear it. I hears it.
and then of course you get the choruses. I'm alone. It's like dun, 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 dun. It's like yo. Actually, you know, it's interesting to me, even in a song that's like literally 10 years old. Alice songs are always, it's always common, I guess, to write about solitude and loneliness. Like those are common Alice motifs that are lyrically written about a lot of the time. I feel
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
like I'm literally right now thinking of 3 other Alice vocal arrangements off the top of my head that are actually all named Alone. So you have All Alone by Clockwork's Tracer, I'm All Alone by Further Ahead of Warp, and you have Alone by QB Fox. uh, actually, is that Further Ahead of Warp? That Further Ahead of Warp song is an Alice song, but I actually forget if the Clockwork's Tracer song is Tracer, I'm Alone. Oh, All Alone, excuse me. Oh no, it's Harmon's Yokai Girl. Whoops.
Oh no.
It's not Alice. No.
There's so many characters that are alone in solitude.
That's true. It's a shame. Just too many too many girls who are alone.
Soon.
But no, like this song's good. It is good. It's just that it sort of stumbles in the beginning because of that repetition, I feel like.
Yeah. And then it's everything after it's so good.
Yeah. And then they bookend the album with more of the music box at the end of the song, about 4:10.
And then it's like 10 seconds of silence.
It's good. I mean, that's good. Like it's a good way to just bookend the album. It's great. But that's actually all the songs. There's only 8 songs here, and one of them is an intro track. So
Yeah, that's all she wrote.
I guess we can just jump right into our concluding thoughts. This is a pretty good album. You know, on my first listen, I was, and like I said, unlike you, who has this album in their bones. I guess it's their formative album.
One
know, one of them, I guess. I have not listened to this before. You know, it's 10 years, just turned 10, and this is my first time listening to it. Just this month or the end of last month. You know, whenever I first listened to it, and I was blown away that an album, the Dojin album from 10 years ago, sounded this good, production wise, and that like arrangement wise, I was blown away too. Like these were good arrangements. But then, you know, on my second listen, the few cracks just really became more noticeable, like in the middle of the album. The album starts really strong and it finishes really strong. Resurrection Ballad finishes the album really strong, but like in the middle there, it's kind of dips in the quality just a little bit. Not from a production standpoint, but from like the arrangement and song crafting. I don't know, want to say songwriting, but like, you know, like making the song, it dips a little bit. There's not too much that sticks out or that's memorable in a lot of these songs melodically. I guess overall is what I'm saying, like overall, and the songs that try some different things, like Breed's Puppet and Love Holic. Like, you know, Breed's Puppet starts with the piano intro and outro, like the piano breaks, like try to put in the piano stuff. And Love Holic Part 3 has Love Holic 3 has that riff, but like
it's got the cowbell.
It does have the cowbell. Like, you know, they try, you know, all of the songs are trying different things, and it's just those ones in the middle sort of stumble a little bit. Like they're not, you know, like they don't absolutely nail it like Mythologic Infinite, you know? What this album does, and I'm like a broken record, but what this album does have is great production and musical consistency, which is something I have not mentioned. The music on the album is consistently good, you know? There isn't like a bad track on the album. Like it's just it never, I guess, but overall I'm worried that it like never reaches the heights that it wants to. Like you feel like this album wants to be like this grand amazing thing, but in the end it's just a really good metalcore album. Like I've mentioned this already. I did not listen to the original Grimoire of Alice either when I had first listened to Resurrection Ballad. And at that point, when I was writing these notes, I was curious what they did for the harsh vocals like parts in the first. And now that I took a little bit of time to check the original version, the production is it's black and white. It really does feel like these are demos. Like just listen to the snare. Like just throw on Romantic Children for just a second and just listen to the drums and and sounds like shit. The guitars are not as full because the bass isn't as present as it is in Resurrection Ballad. Like they really turned up the production for Resurrection Ballad. And they're not exactly 1-to-1 either. So it's definitely interesting to check out the old versions, but like definitely Resurrection Ballad is the way to listen to these songs.
Yeah.
Like if I was gonna, my last note is, Grimoire of Alice really has that old Guilty Gear sound to it versus Resurrection Ballad, which still feels like a modern album. This album could have come out 5 years ago, like during the last hoorah of metalcore, and it still would have sounded like good comparatively. Like this album is great. I feel really good about it.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. But that's all my notes. So what do you have to say in conclusion?
Nothing really. I was just curious what your thoughts were.
Yeah, as someone who grew up with this album, you wanted to hear my thoughts on it. Thank you. Well, then to answer your inquisitiveness, no, I really enjoyed it. I recommend it if you like TOUHOU Loud. TOUHOU metal. It really is funny. I didn't know it was going to be like, I didn't read their own self-written description that it was a metalcore album. As soon as I turned it on and hit Romantic Children, I was like, it's metalcore. It's like, it's actually metalcore. And then when I read the album notes, like, oh, that was the point. They wanted it to be, they wanted to make metalcore. And they did. Like this sounds like late 2000s, early 2010s metalcore. Like that's what it sounds like. Shout outs to Lunar Strain.
I think my only lament is that this is, the last album released as the collaboration between Pizuya Cell and MyonMyon, and it's just a shame that there wasn't more, because this really I could have really used more of this. Like 3 or 4 more albums worth.
Well, what do you think of the previous vocal one? There were like 2 vocal albums released before this, right? Because they released Grimoire of Alice, and then there was another instrumental album, and then 2 vocal albums, and then this. And it looks like they released a demo for one of them too. But if I'm remembering correctly, I haven't checked the wiki in like a week, so I might be wrong about that. But like, surely you've listened to their other albums since you feel so strongly about this one, right? Right? Right?
I really could have used 2 or 3 or 4 more albums of this quality.
Okay. Fair enough.
Their 2 previous ones, they're okay. It was Nuclear Blast and Chaoscillation Game. Those are the 2 previous collaborations in which Yum again contributed.
Also did vocals, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're not as good.
I just say you had to go to the wiki to check what those were again.
Yes.
But no, like this album really is great. I was surprised. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this, and I was pleasantly surprised. So good pick. Yeah, check it out.
Check it out.
I can't I can recommend it enough, but it's good. It's definitely worth your time. It's not a long album. It's only like 35 minutes or so.
33 or so, 2 of which are just music box.
So yeah, it's definitely got the Dojin album length, right? It's about half an hour long. It's good. beyond what I've said, I don't really have anything else to say about it. Like it's good.
It's good. I don't know where you're gonna find it in its entirety
Yeah.
because I don't know how much of it's been if it was ever uploaded in full
Mm.
to YouTube. I'm sure that half of the channels that have uploaded it are dead.
Yeah, it's a 10-year-old album.
So you'll probably find maybe like 3 or 4 of the tracks. I know like there's Meteralice Resurrection Ballad is definitely on there in like 3 different channels,
Mm.
which I get because it's really good. And I think Mythologic Infinite is as well. But yeah, I think that's the caveat with recommending old albums that we've
Mm.
listened to because it may not actually be available.
And yeah, I guess that's I don't really have anything else to say. Support Dojin artists, even though this album is out of print. uh,
And as a general rule, support Dojin artists because who knows, they could sell their work in one event and just completely drop off the face of the earth. Their domain expires, their Twitter account stops tweeting, and
well,
you
I
have
mean,
your chance.
if that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen. You know, that's my thinking about it, though. Definitely, I get you. You know, you should support artists in general, but not receiving support is not the only reason that people stop making art.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, as sort of like a consumer of Dojin music, you know, like what more is out there that we might have missed out on?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, with that, I think we're finished.
Yeah, Resurrection Ballad. Quality Toho metalcore ranges.
Pizuya Cell and MyonMyon, good stuff. Check out check it out if you'd like. If you can, you'll be able to find it, I'm sure.
I believe in you, listener.
Thanks again for listening to our Two Dopes podcast, 2D
Yeah,
Doji Nongaku. I have been Vito.
I'm DJ still.
You were DJ, and you still are.
And I will continue to be. Past, present, future. It's me. Anyway,
We'll see you next time. Thanks
take
again.
care.